There is a quiet force in the universe, ancient, invisible, and immeasurable, that shapes our reality not by brute strength, but by belief. Imagine waking each morning not as a victim of circumstance, but as the author of your destiny. You rise, not asking what will go wrong today, but declaring everything conspires in your favor. Some may call it delusion. But what if faith in the unseen is the deepest kind of wisdom? To act as if everything always works out for you isn't arrogance. It's a sacred posture, a reclamation of your birthright as a co-creator with life itself. Today, we'll explore 5 truths that will help you live this way. Not someday, but starting now. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. This ancient truth lies beneath every experience you interpret and every story you tell yourself. Perception isn't just a passive lens, it's the active sculptor of reality. The world outside bends to meet the world within. There's a kind of alchemy in perception. When you believe the world is against you, your senses become tuned to evidence of betrayal and failure. Your nervous system reacts to shadows. You become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But when you believe the universe is your partner, not your adversary, something shifts. You no longer brace for pain, you prepare for purpose. You become open to opportunities hiding behind chaos, alive to signals that were always there, waiting for you to notice. At Stanford, researchers divided participants into 2 groups to solve the same puzzles. One group was told the puzzles would reflect their intelligence. The other was told simply to play and explore. The difference was remarkable. Those under pressure performed worse, slower, and less creatively. But those who approached the task playfully performed better. Same task, different perception, completely different outcome. Consider Sarah, a woman who believed she was cursed with bad luck. Every missed bus confirmed her suspicion. Every breakup became another brick in her wall of cruel narrative. "Why does this always happen to me?" she'd ask. But then came a moment when she considered a different story. What if life wasn't punishing her but teaching her? What if each loss was an initiation, each delay a redirection? She allowed this new perception to take root. 2 years later, she stood secure in a career she felt called to, married to someone who saw her wholeness, not her wounds. She changed nothing external, yet everything changed. Within every human being lies a hidden theater where countless inner characters perform. The wounded child is longing for safety, the skeptic who distrusts promises, and most importantly, the hero who dares to act. When you act as if everything works out for you, you're summoning the hero. The hero isn't defined by comfort or the absence of fear. They emerge in response to adversity. They know that beyond suffering, something waits that's worth the journey. The hero never begins in strength. They begin in ordinary circumstances, sometimes even despair. But when the call comes, when loss shatters the known world, the hero must choose. Collapse into victimhood or rise into the unknown with faith that the struggle won't be in vain. I once spoke with Marcus, a man laid off after decades of service. At first, he saw it as betrayal. Life had abandoned him. But gradually, he began asking a different question. What if I'm being released, not rejected? That question unlocked something deep. Within 2 years, he'd launched his own consulting business, serving causes that truly mattered to him. The layoff hadn't destroyed him, it had redirected him. To become a hero isn't to erase the past or avoid grief. It's to transmute it, allowing every scar to become a source of strength. The hero within you isn't waiting to be perfect, they're waiting to be chosen. There's a persistent illusion that we must first feel ready before we act. This belief paralyzes more dreams than failure ever could. People wait for confidence, clarity, and permission from a mind that rarely gives it. But the psyche doesn't just react, it responds powerfully to action. When you act as if everything works out, you're not pretending. You're inviting your psyche to rise to meet the gesture. You're saying, even if I don't yet believe it, I'm willing to move as if it were true. At Harvard, researchers found that people who stood in a power pose open chest, lifted chin for just 2 minutes, showed actual hormonal changes. Testosterone increased, and cortisol decreased. Most importantly, they became more willing to take risks. Their posture reshaped their biochemistry. This isn't magic, it's biology catching up to belief. The way you stand, walk into a room, and say your name are all declarations to your unconscious. When you act from dignity, when you move as though life is trustworthy, your psyche gradually accepts that story as truth. So dress like someone who expects the best from life. Speak with self-respect even if your hands are shaking. Move with quiet certainty even when you can't see the path ahead. Action is the womb in which belief is formed. Most people live clenched, gripping tightly to outcomes shaped by fear rather than trust. But the paradox is this: the more you try to control life, the more life resists you. Control is often just fear wearing a mask. To act as if everything works out isn't passive, it's the opposite. It's to participate fully, show up completely, create and risk with your whole self, and then surrender the results. Not because they don't matter, but because you know they're not entirely yours to control. Think of the farmer. He doesn't command the seed to grow on his timeline. He doesn't dig it up daily to check progress. He does what he can, tills the earth, plants the seed, and waters with care, then waits. He trusts the invisible process because he's seen seasons turn and harvests arrive. This is how we're called to live, not as manipulators of fate, but as devoted participants in a larger rhythm. When you release your obsession with how things must go, you create space for how things could go. You often find that what you were clinging to was smaller than what life had planned. There's an unseen thread weaving through reality that responds not just to what we do, but to what we believe. This belief isn't a thought you recite, it's the quiet expectation that hums beneath your actions, the frequency your presence emits. When you act as if everything works out, you don't force the world to obey. You begin resonating with a different truth. You carry yourself not as someone hoping for approval, but as someone who knows they belong. I remember David, a young man who struggled with unworthiness. In every job interview, he carried quiet dread that colored everything he said. Interviewers couldn't name it, but they felt it. Time and again, he was rejected. I asked him to try something different. Don't go in needing them to choose you. Go in as if they already have. He changed nothing about his resume, only his posture. He smiled more, listened more, and believed just for a moment that he belonged. He was hired on the spot. When you act as if things work out, you invite life to prove you right. You send a message. I'm available for good things. I trust the unfolding. Because your outer action aligns with your inner frequency, life no longer needs to fight to reach you. You can go through life as if everything is against you, or you can choose to walk as if the wind is at your back. Not because it always will be, but because that belief alone can change your trajectory. Your posture is a prophecy. Your presence is a magnet. Your faith is a force that bends reality. Act as if everything always works out for you. Not someday, but now. And watch as the world rises to meet you.